Everybody, it's Pip from the Size Up by National Fire Radio here in the temporary National Fire Radio studios. As the boss man Jeremy says that we're working on a new
Not allowed to
studio.
talk right now. I was told that this is not my episode and I'm to be here and be silent.
Oh, well, when you're spoken to, you're supposed to talk.
I'm sorry.
That's
Yes.
how things work. When the host asks you a question, you answer.
So these are our temporary digs. We are in the process of trying to find a new home. I got a couple perspectives that we're looking at, and once we do that, the new studio is going to be quite impressive. So I'm looking forward to that, to sharing that with everyone when we get there. So
exciting.
should be good.
So exciting that the Size Up gets to be a part of that. And I'm here today with just some great friends is the easiest way to say it. My good buddy Nick Dingus from Dingus Fire and Vanguard Safety Wear. Andy Shapiro way down at the end from Vanguard Safety Wear. And my old pal, podcast originator, fire podcast originator. I don't know, what year did you start your podcast?
So
everybody?
it's like when your kid goes away to college and they graduate and they go to their first job. It's like looking at you being a podcast host. It feels
so
like
proud.
the evolution of my child has prospered into the world. It started in 2014. Pip, thanks for bringing me on your
This is
show.
Ryan Pennington, by the way, in case you didn't recognize his voice or his beautiful face.
Yeah, I got a face for radio, that's for sure. But thanks for welcoming to your show.
I appreciate that.
That's
Because
awesome.
we go so way back on social media, and you know, I don't know how many times I've been on
A
News
lot.
from the jump seat, right? Or how many times we've jumped on a live, whether it's been for Vanguard, whether it's been for 555 or National Fire Radio.
Yeah.
Right? But that friendship, and I think that's something that this episode is probably going to be about, because everybody sitting at this table we've all crossed paths in different ways, and it's really odd that, you know, I both met Andy for the first time and the guy sitting on the end for the first time at the Nashville show, just 2 different years apart. But that friendship really has grown into a business, and they're firefighter-run businesses, and it's challenging because think about how long we've all just been friends. How many firefighter-owned businesses did we see start and stop, let's say? I don't want to say fail, but I want to say stop, right?
It's just because they burn out so fast.
Right?
I mean, and really, this is the Jeremy from National Fire Radio. He's like, when you start these things, you've got to play the long game. I'm not here, and when you and I started, I don't know if I ever told you this or not, but reading the Gary V book, I'm pretty sure I told you.
We did. We
that.
talked about Gary.
Yeah, reading the Crushing It, and he said it's not about currency, it's about legacy, and we really bring that home. And Jeremy and I talk about it ad nauseum, but I really think that goes for anything that you do. We're not here for the money. We're here to make a difference in this world.
Is there money here?
No, I don't know. Hey,
I haven't found it yet.
Dad, can I get a 20 here?
Take the Fifth Amendment.
Go ahead, Jer. Go ahead, Jer.
I think everybody's so hung up on the short term, and nobody wants to talk about the long game, because the long game takes time and effort, and it takes consistency. I know in my personal life, I struggle with consistency. That's just open and honest me talking about it, right?
100%.
Even with National Fire Radio, it's 110 miles an hour for a month, and then, miles an hour, flying full speed ahead, and then I got to scale myself back, and it's then you live that, doldrum of slowing down and thinking I need to be doing better, and then you pick yourself back up again. But like, nobody's holding us to any expectations but of what we hold for ourselves. But I think what happens is, Ryan mentioned like burnout. I think you got to have like open expectations from the get, right? I think why this table works and why we're friends, and maybe we talk a few times a year. I mean, Nick and I really have only started to get to know each other, right? Andy, I met today. Maybe I've met Andy once before. But like I starting to include them into my circles now, right? And that's fun. You guys are in my circles. I've known Ryan since the beginning with National Fire Radio. Pip, you and I have known each other same, right? Yeah. There's commonality here, and that's why this works, and it's because there's no short game here. We're not in it for the short incentives for what I can get out of it today. And you mentioned legacy, the whole Gary V thing. I'm a Gary V fan too, right? That's why National Fire Radio started, was Gary V made me start it, right? And if you're not familiar with people watching and listening to this, go look up Gary Vaynerchuk. It might just change your life, man, because it certainly has put mine on a different trajectory than I could have ever have imagined. And I'm grateful for that. But I'm also very conscious of the relationships and valuing them. And when you put short-term as your priority, the mission then doesn't matter. right? Like we talked about on another episode with you guys before about the mission and how important the mission is. There's no mission in a short-term goal. You know, short-term goals, if you think of business, right? You talk about firefighter-owned businesses. When you talk about businesses, if you have a short-term goal, that's usually for an acquisition or a sale because you're building your company to be able to leverage for a sale or an acquisition. That's a short-term play. Long-term is building an institution, building a foundation, and then growing a business and maintaining a successful business. So there's different plays. And so depending on what you want in life, it's either a long game or a short game. I personally believe in the fire service, everything is a long game. We could have short-term or short gains that are positive, but they all add to the bigger game. There's not a single firefighter under 20, 25, 30 years that's a seasoned firefighter. It just doesn't happen, right? And so we talk about senior men, we talk about all these different things, but like the fire service is longevity. It is a long game. And I think anytime that we are looking for shortcuts or want to make it quicker or easier on ourselves, we're shortchanging ourselves, and you're not going to end up with what you're looking for at the end.
I don't think there's a shortcut for hard work.
No.
And I think that's the part, everybody's looking for instant gratification today. And, you know, when you get into business, that's just not the way it is. And I've been in a firefighter-owned business now for 21 years, and I've been part of multiple ones.
Yeah.
So 2 we currently manage, 4 or 5 other ones that we've also done. And they're fun. And I always say, you know, we try to find passionate people with purpose. And that's a big deal. And when you find those people, you have to latch onto them and then develop the business around those folks. I always say if we can just get them on the bus, and then once we get them on the bus, we've got to get them in the right seat. And I look at from the Dingus Fire perspective, we have 113 people now spanning 7 states.
Wow.
And for where we were at in 2016, we were at about a dozen people, and we've made 3 acquisitions and done some other really neat things. And we developed some technology, which has been game-changing and life-changing for us as a business. But to be able to create that span of control, much like the military, much like law enforcement, and then have those 3 to 7 people report up throughout the organization, that's allowed us to grow 6 times in 6 years. And that's been fun. And to be able to see that, but people, there is no shortcut, right, for hard work. And those 60, 80, 100-hour weeks, they're always going to be there. And, you know, you still have to prioritize family, but you also have to know any person can run the ball, just not everybody gets it across the goal line. And that's what I always have in the back of my mind is how do I get that to the goal line? And you keep your legs moving forward and you keep driving that pile. And, you know, you want to score that touchdown.
Well, and all too often, too, when folks get to that goal line, then they stop. Right? They made it to that goal line. But
because it's hard to get in,
right?
to get in the end zone.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that I think I heard a long time ago with Steve Young or Joe Montana, you know, said most people give up right before they succeed. And it's like, well, if I just keep pushing forward, at some point, I hope I'm going to succeed. And I think we've done a pretty good job at doing that with good, passionate people.
I feel like my goal line just keeps getting pushed back further and further. I'm always in the red zone, right? just when I'm there and I'm knocking on the door, my goal line gets pushed back a little bit more. And I think that's my drive, though, is to chase that goal line.
Exactly. What do you do with that?
Exactly, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just keep driving to chase that goal line. And a lot of these other businesses that haven't been successful, they either got in the goal line and then we're like, oh, we're good. We don't have to work hard anymore. Or they don't want to go after the chase. And the chase, for me, is where it's at.
Well, as the senior guy here, you know.
Oh, fireman terms. Yeah.
I'm the old timer, but no, I've been in business since, you know, gosh, I don't want to say how long. Decades, many decades. And I've had ups and downs. And like you said, you just got to keep going. You just got to keep at it until you get that formula that's the right one. And hopefully you find it early in your career, but not so typically, do you?
But I think the down part of that is where mental toughness and fortitude come in, because it's easy to have those down times. And, you know, the folks that are close to me know I just count all those things as white noise. Right? I mean, whether it's seriously, if it's competition or it's somebody, you know, digging on you as a person or, you know, your fire service experience or whatever it is, that's just white noise. And as long as you know at the end of the day, you can look yourself in the mirror knowing you're doing the right things, both for your family, for your employees, for the business, for the fire service, that's all we can ask for. And I think that's the attitude that we've had, you know, as a firefighter, and then also is having a business or businesses in the fire service, is knowing at the end of the day, I can go to bed each night knowing that we did the best we could for the folks that we care for.
Yeah.
And we've been very successful because of that.
I think I'm sorry, Pip. Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Jeremy.
What I was going to say, just to piggyback on what you said, right? Define success. Because the thing is, right, is like everybody's success is different. And so what does that look like for you? And as you play out what's in front of you, your thoughts on success are going to change, right? We all have benchmarks. We all hit different targets. We hope we hit targets we set for ourselves, right? Some people set realistic targets and they're small increments, and some people are just giant thinkers and dreamers and so on. And I think I fall in line like right in the middle, but I can go either way, right? Sometimes I'm thinking grandioso and big, and other times I'm thinking small and incremental, right? I think what's important, though, is not to get lost in the conversation of what success actually looks like. You know, society has painted this picture of what success is. And, I mean, success could just be a healthy family, a good marriage, a good firefighting career, a good small business. Not every business needs to be $1 million, $20 million, $100 million, $300 million. A successful business is a business that employs people, gives you a living, gives you enough sustenance for you to live a good quality life. I think we get caught up, and I've had this conversation with a lot of people about what success actually looks like. And I think that realistic goals and approaches matter. And I think what happens is a lot of people lose sight of the long game because they have these grandioso beliefs in what their success is going to look like, and when they can't get there quickly, they throw it all away.
I think my experience, and you're right on with that, the key is you got to stay in the game. You got to stay in it. My experience, I was 10 years with a firefighting glove manufacturing company, left after 10 years. I want to start my own business, but you can't just come out with a new glove. So I had a 2-year interim period from when I left that company to when I even started the new company. And that 2 years, I had to find ways to, feed the family and make some money. And, was doing kind of weird jobs here and there. But staying in it was giving me the opportunity to get Vanguard Safety Wear going, meet my new partners. And, again, staying in the game was what allowed this to happen.
And moving that ball forward.
Yeah,
That was it. You were moving it forward, just not in the way that is the flashiest of ways.
Right.
And not in the way
Not
that's
glamorous.
not glamorous
Not
at
glamorous.
all, right?
Andy, go ahead. Please.
No, and we're 6 years in, and that 6 years goes fast. So don't think like, I got to wait 4 or 5 years for success, or 6 years, or whatever. That goes fast. It goes fast.
Well, my question to you would be, right, and you said you're the senior guy at the table, right? Utmost respect for that. But did you think 8 years ago that you would be starting a new business with 2 different partners and going about it a whole different direction than what you were accustomed to, right? So life has a lot to do with it, right?
Right. The unimaginable sometimes is your only opportunity.
Hell
is
yeah.
what you did not imagine, but you take that opportunity and stay in the game.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that you call it opportunity too, and it's really risk, right? You're taking a risk by what you left. You left your comfort zone, and you moved it forward. And I see that a lot with firefighter-owned businesses too, right? Is we're comfortable in being firefighters. We're problem solvers. All of us at this table right now are problem solvers. And what we do is we see a problem, or we get called to someone else's problem, and we solve it very quickly. That's our goal. And we don't leave until that problem's solved. Yeah. And it does not work that way in business, right? Ryan, there's a lot of things in business that aren't like the fire service because there's so many other variables that we can't just fix right away. And I think that's a big problem for folks too, kind of like you and I, probably the way our minds think.
I think you chose the best name for your podcast ever, by the way, the Size Up. And I think it lends to this conversation. And this is a conversation that Jeremy and I have all the time. What are we doing now? What are we doing in the future? And between those two gaps, what does that roadmap look like? So if you're sizing up where you're at and where you're going, I know these two yahoos and I have conversations all the time. What does next month look like? What does next week look like? But what does 5 years, 6 years down the road look like? We're looking down the road, and it's because we're doing the long game thing again. And do we have short-term success? We do, but we're constantly evaluating, constantly adjusting. And listen, we're not driving Lamborghinis. We're not ever going to drive Lamborghinis. Our goal when we started to have Teslas, but we'll settle for a Toyota right at this point, right? So take the mind off the currency, leave your legacy, and I tell you, a couple of these line of duty deaths recently have really hit home with me. And the young man in South Carolina, dude, I tell you what, I've never seen a social media fallout. And I won't say fallout. No, but
there was a lot on respect.
Oh my God!
For someone with very little bit of time on the job.
How did we not know him personally? How come he has not been on Jump Seat Radio? Come on now. I mean, but that guy left a legacy. Listen, when they put Jeremy in the ground, I'm coming to New Jersey. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna do my Jeremy National Fight. But
Bro, if you outlive me, man, we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
But the thing about it is if you focus on what you're doing better for people, it pays dividends. That is the dividend.
And that young man too, you know, he didn't have a large presence as we see a lot of folks that do.
Correct.
But what he did for the people that he touched, they were able to spread that so far.
And amplify it.
And amplify it, exactly, because it meant so much. And that's where that legacy part of this, and again, even in the business end of it, like we talked about on the other episode, you know, what's the legacy of your business going to be? And that's something that you have to keep in mind as you grow these things too with decisions that you make. And I know, Nick, for all the businesses you run, it's a very large focus for you.
Well, I think the biggest thing is my name's on the door. You know, and
this is very true.
And I think, you know, you and I have talked about this before. I like to hit problems head on. I don't mind problems. I don't mind, you know, anything that's negative with our business or the product. I like calling those people and then try to, you know, get the opposite reaction out of them and just try to talk through what the problem is and then how do we fix it quickly. And I think that's really important. And I look at it as, you know, in my family, I think there's 12 of us now that have been in the fire service spanning 4 generations, is I want to live up to the name.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. So, you know, if we can do that, and at the end of the day, or in 20 years from now, you know, people hear the Dingus name, I hope it's with a positive connotation. And it goes back to what Jeremy was saying, you know, what defines success? And there's no perfect answer for that. You know, if you're looking for it monetarily, with whether it's developing something or creating a product, then you're looking it down the wrong path, right? Life's not about money. It's chase after the dream, not chase after the money. And the more we can do that, I think the better off we all are. And I look at it from the perspective of I've lived in a town of 450 people. Our business operates in a town of 2,400 people, but we touch 113 families in the Midwest. That's a big deal to me.
Yeah, it is.
And when folks call and we can support, you know, the Little League teams and all the youth organizations and women or Girls on Fire and all the things that we do, that's a big deal. And then when you see the pictures or you get the phone calls or the text messages, you know, on how our business or businesses have impacted their lives, that's what, you know, makes me smile every day.
Yeah. And talk about small firefighter-owned businesses or of any size. A lot of our customers, and we built a lot of our business on small and medium-sized firefighter-owned businesses. The big guys don't come to you at the beginning. You're nobody to them. You can't do business with them. But we've seen a lot of these small companies have good success, not only with our gloves, but with other products. They've grown their businesses. And I don't know exactly what their formula for success is, but they're doing it, and there's a lot of them out there, so it can be done.
Well, a big part, I think, of that formula for success is just what Nick was saying. You know, it's that it's not really the monetary cash that they're looking for. It's the monetary good feelings, like the good vibes. And good vibes aren't going to feed your kids. So before anybody yells at me about saying that online or anything like that.
You know, just outside of the firehouse, right? I was involved in a family business for, you know, many, many years. And I was the youngest of 3 boys. And it was my father's company, started in 1980. And he built this and gave me a good life growing up. And then I went into the business, and that's why I didn't go through the fire circuit, because I went through the family business. It took care of me from right out of college, and that's why I never pursued. I mean, I tested, had opportunities, deferred opportunities to be a career fireman, and I just felt like I needed to stay with the family business, and that's what I chose to do. And I was the youngest of 3 boys, and I ran the company. Challenges, right? We sold the business about 5.5 years ago. And for me, I sleep great at night now. And I say that with intent, right? I say that because I worked 6-7 days a week, 12-hour, 14-hour days, right? Maintaining, fighting, and scrapping for every single thing we could get as a family business. It was a small family business fighting upstream on everything that we did. When we sold, truth be told, we were going through an acquisition. I was buying the company out for my father, and I walked away from the table at the last minute and pushed back from the table and didn't. It was hard for me because I was already doing so much for the company that there wouldn't have been any more opportunity to give more back without taking anything else more away from my family. And not everybody, and this is a Gary Vee line, not everybody needs to be the number one.
No.
You know, a lot of people make a very good number 2, 3, 4, 15, 16. It doesn't matter where you end up, as long as your quality of life and who you are and what the satisfaction you get out of your efforts represent who you want to be, right? Talk about success, Nick. Like, that's what that is, right? And so we ended up selling the business, and I did not buy the company, and we sold it. Now I work for them as a consultant, technical salesman, if you will. And for me, I get to go home at the end of the day and turn it off. And I've come to realize that my family life is better. My relationship with my wife is better. My relationship with my kids is better. And so with all of that, that to me defines success. And Andy, what I asked you before about, later in your career, changing course and starting this business with these guys, like, you don't know what's next. You don't know what chapter's coming next. You don't know what doors are going to open, what friendships you make, what relationships happen. What I say is keep an open mind and always push forward and always ultimately want to be better. And that goes to the mission of what Vanguard Safety stands for. That goes for what National Fire Radio does. I know Pip believes in that. It's about doing the right thing and making yourself better. And if you pursue that on a regular basis, and that's what your constant is, you're going to win.
Well, this comes from Nick. And when we very first started our endeavor, I didn't know him from Adam.
Right.
I didn't. He was some cornfield guy from out in the Midwest. Sorry, Nick. It was like, and then I talked to Andy. It's like, should we start with a contract? And it's like, when I shake your hand, that is my contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do have to throw this out there. I did tell him that the guns in West Virginia can shoot you from a long ways away. So my deer rifle can hit you from a long way. But when we started out with Nick, he's like, listen, you stay in your lane and you trust me, trust the process, and we'll reach the finish line together. That has been the most epiphany moment that I have. I'm not a business guy. You and I know this. We talk about this all the time. I'm not the business guy. I'm the mouthpiece. I'm the show pony. I'm the person you put out there to talk to people and make connections. But I tell you what, Jeremy, that was not an easy thing to do with someone I had just met. Of
course.
Half a way away. And same thing with Andy.
Yeah. It reminds me of something my dad used to always tell, a saying he always used, my word is my bond.
100%.
He said it all the time, and he lived by it. I saw it. So it works.
It's such a huge thing, too, like moving forward when we hear about society. Oh, these young kids aren't this or they're that. But you use that my word is my bond type of a scenario to run with life. And when I think about that, look, I'm not always going to, what I say is not always going to happen. Just because I say it, it's not going to manifest.
Right.
But I'm trying to make it manifest. What I'm not going to do is lie to you about what I can't do. I'm not going to put things out there. And I think we see that a lot with a lot of this smaller businesses that are out there is I think the folks may even be lying to themselves. They're not even being honest with themselves, and they don't know that. I don't think there's malintent behind most of them. It's just...
I think I've been caught in that a couple times in my life. Growing up and navigating this space and small business, and you want to be more, be big. I think it's happened with National Fire Radio at some times where I wanted to do more, be bigger, be better. And then when it comes to actually the fruition of that, going, I can't do that yet. I don't have the abilities to do that yet, right? I think what happens is when you have creative people, excitable people, we're sometimes our own worst enemy because we have to rein it back in a little bit to be more of a realistic approach, right? Pip, you and I talked about this, right?
180%.
And so it's, you can have all the ideas in the world, but you have to be able to execute upon those ideas.
So how about that too? Is that reining it back in?
Yeah.
Right? That's a huge thing because literally I could go for idea. Ryan and I have ideas that for however many years, we're going to do this, that, the other thing. And then some days we're like, no. Nick and I, everybody at this table and I have come up with ideas together and gotten to a point and then said, this isn't going to work.
They call me the good idea fairy.
Oh, is that what
I
they call you?
I come in, sprinkle a good idea, then I disappear is what they call me.
Do you have the wings too? The fairy wings?
No, it's good to dream, but you have to think it through also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there's two points to that, right, that you guys just mentioned. One is you have to focus. And I think that's always hard. I've got 12 years of leather-bound notebooks I carry with me all the time with all different ideas, whether it's on the software side or fire tool side or things outside the fire service. But you have to be able to focus in on what is executable, and then you have to execute. And I think that's the hard part too, not just running the ball to the goal line, but actually taking it across is you have to continue to execute. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. They can talk a good game, but they don't want to put the time in. They don't want to put the work in to actually follow through to get these things accomplished. And I think that's really important.
And that time and work is really what it is all about because every endeavor I've been involved in now has been time and hard work. And to go back to Jeremy's point before, too, about kind of making that change with his business, there's times where other people you're using your time and you're not giving your time to your family. And having those folks around you to reel you back in, I know for me, Tracy has been there, to reel me back in of being like, you're not doing this right. I know for Jeremy, Terry's been there. All of our
She's
our
coming to dinner with us tonight to keep an eye on me. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But also, too, having those sounding boards like we're saying we have with each other. You know, everyone at this table is on my sounding board of like, hey, I got this crazy idea. Who should I call? Nick or Ryan?
It's always Nick.
Well, I like to go Nick or Ryan. If it's a really good idea, I call Nick.
Do you want to have
if
the
it's
emotion?
a crazy idea, I call Ryan.
Do you want to have the emotional solution or the logical solution?
So it's so funny that you say that when the good idea fairy comes, this is the good idea fairy squasher over here. Well, no, that won't work. It won't pass NFPA.
But you need that.
Yeah.
You need the squasher. The squasher is the most important person in
Reality check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I wanted to hit on too, just to circle back real quick, I wrote down overvalue. I think too many people overvalue themselves and their time. And I want to bring that up in a way that when we talk about that short term, long term, and we talk about the value of that, some people think that they're worth more than they are. They overvalue their approach. They overvalue their time. And when you do that, you remove yourself from so much opportunity. And I think in life is full of opportunities. It's if you allow those opportunities to knock and if you answer the door or not, right? And if you overvalue yourself or you put yourself on a pedestal or you put yourself and not willing to just take a step back, check your pride, check your ego, and try something different or meet somebody new, right? You don't know what opportunities are going to be abound. And so what I would say is don't overvalue yourself.
You really have to watch it in the fire service. And he and I have spoke at this ad nauseum. When you get a social media following, when you go to a major conference and have 600 people in your room, you have somebody, and it was a really weird experience for me during the heyday of Jump Seat Radio. Somebody wanted to have a selfie take with Ryan Pennington. Oh, this is Ryan Pennington. Ryan Pennington ain't. I'm just a mouthpiece sharing a good word. But you really have to watch yourself as you gain notoriety and popularity within our realm to keep yourself humble. It comes out in your shows. It comes out in your podcast. It comes out when you're on a stage at an FDIC or a firehouse. So I would encourage everyone to heed Jeremy's advice and realize that I'm no more important than Nick or Pip or anybody else. Know your value, and your value is valuable with the information you're given.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you, but Mr. Big Pants, you ain't Mr. Big Pants. You still go in fire trucks like I do. And I might be better than you two.
Bro, I walked FDIC. I shook every single person's hand 100%. That said, hey, Jeremy. And I stopped, looked at them in the eyes. Sebby will tell you.
Right.
I stopped, look at everybody in the eyes. I shake their hand and I say, hey, how are you? What's your name?
Dude, the puzzled look that people give Jeremy back when he says that, and they're like, "What, you're talking to me?"
It's the same reason why at Vanguard you guys listen to people talk about your product.
100%.
It's the same return, right?
Right.
Matters.
But you know who the prime example that is, and he's one of our good buds, Jason Patton.
Yeah.
That dude does not tell anyone no. Selfies, pictures, freaking Facebook or FaceTime calls.
I mean, for my girlfriend, she's a huge fan.
Yes. But
He's got a good haircut.
That was
You guys have the same barber? Yeah.
But as far as like
that was Sebby from behind the camera too. By the way, he doesn't have a microphone.
But I mean, as far as like a rock star in our business, that guy's a rock star.
He is.
He is. But he's the most humblest, caring person.
We could call him right now. I bet he'd pick up the phone. If I faced
this.
like he,
Watch this.
You could do it. I got the cord.
Here.
Oh wait, because now we can record the other end of it.
Here.
He's gonna say, Ryan, who?
What do you get? Oh, if we FaceTime him from over there. So now this episode is going totally south.
We're going
and
off
we're
the
doing
rails.
fun. But it's fun to be able to do this. And I think what we're all trying to get across here, Ryan, and listen, this is being humble.
Right.
This isn't trying to blow up our boy. And like
No,
we may not
no,
pick up the
no,
phone,
no.
right? But it's just something that we can do because we're just normal people who happen to have decided to put ourselves out there a little more.
And communicate what we've learned, what we've understand. Maybe somebody can pick and choose something out of what we're telling them. That'll be useful.
And
we
that's
get a
something-
kick out of that.
Hey, we're not going to hear it if we plug it in. Yeah, you're right. We're not going to hear it if we plug it in because we'd have to have headphones to do it.
Yeah, on the feet.
Yeah, no, we could do that. Well, we could just see if he picks up on a FaceTime real quick. I think, but that's it too, is sharing, right? And that's what I love about the podcast. That's what I've loved about my whole journey in this, from being a little dude who liked to do fitness and helping to start 555, was I was just sharing what I like to do. And now I'm sharing what I like to do in a different way by talking about it and wearing a cool hockey jersey that Jeremy from National Fire Radio got.
So we're talking about goal lines in football, and he's wearing a hockey jersey. I was going to bring that up earlier. If all jerseys for you to get.
There's a goal line in hockey, too. You know,
There is a goal line in hockey.
Yeah, but there's
Not
no
the
red
same,
side.
Maybe
but-
next time we'll do football jerseys, but those are
Yeah.
harder because you need pads underneath them. Oh, he must be working.
Yeah,
he's probably
he's
riding
probably
an
riding
ambulance.
an ambulance.
Jason Patton's probably riding an ambulance, or he's making
So
cool
Jason, when you
videos,
watch this,
but
we tried
anyway.
FaceTime, and you're right here. You're not answering. Normally, he answers my FaceTimes, and it is freaking fantastic when he does.
It's pretty good. It is pretty good. But
is
that's one of
pretty
those
good.
things that, just because you see folks on social media, it doesn't mean that they're not just like you, right? We've just chosen to share this with us. But you have to keep yourself humble
But
in
it
the same
goes
line.
back to was his name Moeller? Was that his last name from South Carolina?
J. Michael Mueller.
Let me tell you, there's a lot that I've taken from that process of his grieving, of him being caught on tape going into the structure, and then his impact afterwards. I would love for somebody to utilize, what's that word, eulogy? Talk about me when I'm dead and say half of what they said about that guy.
So I did a post. I took a week after his death,
Right.
And for a guy that lives on social media and really has the finger on the pulse of what's happening with current events and so on, I watched from afar and did not get involved with many conversations other than resharing Passion for the Craft and a few other pages that he was involved with. I come to find out that he followed our page, so he knew who we were.
Right.
Which to me is like, that was a gut check for me. And after watching from afar, I did a post on a Sunday night that was just like a quick 2-minute recap on that. And what I talked about was how impactful this guy was at a young age of 25 or 26 years old and what he brought to the fire service and how many people, the line of duty deaths that occur, not many of them are fire ground conditional line of duties. A lot of them are medical accidents, things like that, right? When you have line of duty deaths that hit from a structural collapse or a flashover, something that happens on the fire ground during firefighting activities, those line of duty deaths are typically looked at a little bit differently than the others, right? It's just how it is. And when you read and learn and watch what everybody said about this guy and how much he loved the job and how much he was into it and how much on the training aspect he dove in, this was a guy that did everything right. And he gave everything back to the fire service. And when you look at the impact he made at such a young age to so many people, for me, I really sat back because, man, did those people come out hard in response to him and what he did for the fire service and not just his region, but all over. And then it also gave me tremendous hope. A young guy, the reason why I think the message was so strong on social media about his passing was because that's his generation and they live on social media. And so a lot of his brothers and sisters and the guys that he rode with are on those platforms, and that's where they mourned him, right? And that's where they share his legacy. What he did was he created a legacy for himself because he did the right thing, and you can just tell that. You could tell by all the stories and things that were told about him. And so for me, as tragic as his death was, I look at it as a symbol of hope.
100%.
That as much as we down talk some of the fire service this day and age with, oh my God, the young, this and that, you know what? That guy was 25, 26 years old. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact age, but I can tell you this, that if there's more guys like him in this fire service, we're in a really good place.
And you think
We're
about
in a really good
You
place.
think about it too for us and our age. When you had 5 years in the fire service,
Are
and
you
we're
old?
25. I'm not actually. I'm really not. The grays are all fake. But when you had that little bit of time in the fire service, what was your impact on the fire service?
Ooh.
I know what mine was.
Yeah, mine was all about
great.
mine was all about myself, my ego,
Yes,
and
exactly,
being
yes.
the biggest mouth, the smartest guy, the best fireman, and I didn't know jack shit. And you know what? It took me a long time to figure that out. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. When I went up through the volunteers, I was a young officer, I was a young lieutenant, young captain, young assistant chief, young chief. If I were to do it over, and I remember specifically sitting in an officers meeting years later when I retreaded as a lieutenant for 1 year to hold a spot for somebody, right? And they're like, hey, can you just do this for a year? And I'm like, whatever. I did. And we're sitting in an officers meeting with all these young kids, and they looked at me when I was this voice of reason in the meeting, and they looked at me and go, you were never like that. when you were, this and that. And I go, yeah, you know what that is? That's maturity, man. I grew up a little bit, right? There's a different approach, right? And I think you have to recognize that, and that's super important. But yeah, man, what was your impact throughout your career?
Yeah, I know. That's it.
Right.
And when we look at this young man, again, like, what could he have been? But that's the hope for everybody else, right? Unfortunately, we're not going to ever know that about him. But think about everyone else. And think about what you're doing.
He was a rock star.
And think about what we're doing now, and where we want to go in the next few years.
But you and I talked about this the other day. I'm the has-been, and I'm okay with it.
I don't know if it's a has-been, right?
No,
You're just seasoned.
Just go with me like
least
this.
you were.
The thing about it is I don't have any ego left. I don't. I really don't. I have nothing else to prove in this life. I don't. They know I go down hallways. They know I go through windows. I don't like ladders. I take stairs. They know that we've contributed to the National Fire Service, the International Fire Service. We've created a product. At this point in my life, I'm in gravy. I got 2 great grandkids. I love going to Florida and getting in the water and meeting Boston firefighters. So when you I really think that's a refreshing look that when you may have goals to get to, once you get them, it's pretty freaking sweet. And am I going to keep pushing? Sure. But I'm telling you what, it's all gravy now. It is all gravy on top of these taters.
I think one of the things that's important as well. You
like that, didn't you? Sorry to start.
And I'm in year 27. I think, we're all about the same vintage here. But it's how do we create more excited people, more multipliers, right, of the passion.
Let's see, there you go.
And I always say I'm probably the worst paramedic in Illinois. I'm probably the worst firefighter. I'm the worst chief officer. That way, you set your bar low enough, you can achieve anything, right? But if we can go out and get people excited about the fire service, that's what we should be doing. And I think the easiest way to do that is by showing up. People I travel quite often for what we do. But I never miss a call at home. I never miss a fire. I never miss a wreck. I never miss an EMS call if I'm home and available. And I think, if we can set that bar for all of our young people, they see that we show up. They see that we're there. We're there to do the job. We're there for them to hopefully to learn from us. Then we can be multipliers of the next generation of the fire service.
I can attest to that, too, because Nick sends me pictures from all the times he goes on jobs.
Write that down.
Right in there.
That is some good.
And that force multiplier is the way to go.
Dude, that is legit. I mean, that is, whew.
And we have a decent vintage. I appreciate that.
Vintage.
Too. I saw Jeremy laugh over there when we got a vintage.
Veterans.
Veterans of the field. But I think, too, and that force multiplier is just, I feel like it's a great way to end this one. Where we were talking about how to kind of run a small business, be a firefighter. We've talked about a lot of different things, but it's all about being a force multiplier.
The whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
And that's it. And helping those around make you happier. Dude, I want Andy on my show.
I just surround myself with smart people, and I feel good.
I'm gonna have Andy zoom in on every episode of the Size Up just so he could drop a bomb and walk out. It's like the Howard Stern show had his little different people here and there. Like, so what's gonna happen?
Is that Baba Booey?
Well, listen, I'm trying something new here on the Size Up called the Size Up 10.
Oh,
I asked 10 questions.
He's got a paper.
I have a paper. I haven't memorized them yet.
Size Up 10.
Everybody's not gonna get the 10 questions. I'm just gonna say your name.
All right. Are these fire service related questions?
Negative, sir. They are not.
Oh. So I can't compete.
Are they make one up though?
Are they 1 or 2 word answers?
We try to go with 1 or 2 word
Good.
answers.
So let's go right down the line. I want to.
Maybe I don't want to go right down the line. Oh, you want me to do? You want?
What's this? Your show?
All 10. I knew you wanted to take them. Ding. Oh, there's so many. Ding, ding, ding. So I'll say it.
Savvy got some good content.
It can take too long if we go for some of them, right? So here we go, right? Or do you really want to do them all?
No, you do
Jeremy
it your
wants
way.
10. All right,
We'll do like a buzzer. Who hits a buzzer first?
No, I say your name and you go. So
all right, here we go.
Jeremy, beach or mountains?
Beach.
Beach? Yeah. Andy, night out or night in?
Ooh.
You got to answer.
I'm going to take the 5th.
Oh,
because my wife might watch this show. I don't know.
Andy, let's go. Pick one.
Night
Let's
out or
go.
Night in? Which one do you want? In. You're in. That's a win. That's a win. Nick, good book or good movie?
Movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that one coming. Huh? How about that? Ryan, cross country road trip. Who's your co-pilot?
Ooh, my wife Heather.
You better have said Heather. I was like waiting for that one.
I don't drive. I take airplanes.
Andy, do you make your bed every day?
The missus does.
That's all right.
But the bed is made every day. Yeah.
Being honest.
Yes.
Nick, $1 million right now or go back to 18 with a redo?
Oh.
Tough one.
No, it's,
No, I'll take $1 million now.
$1 million right now?
I think so.
Jeremy, go ahead. In the National Fire Radio truck, you have that money, right? Outside?
Do you want me to answer this question? Not that question.
Honestly,
the question $1 million.
Go ahead. You can answer this one. You want to answer them all. So
Other than my family and my wife, I would do.
it's not. It's $1 million right now, or 18 with a redo.
I got too much invested personally, so it would be $1 million. But without take the family out of the equation, I would go back and redo everything again. Not that I don't like what I had, I would just do it over again. Enjoy the ride, man.
Enjoy it twice. Why not?
Yeah.
I like that answer for that one. Ryan, highway or back roads?
no, highway. I hate driving.
Really?
I hate it. I live in country roads. They're all twisted. They all go up and down.
Sounds,
make you sing
sounds
a
like
song?
music to
Oh
me.
my God! Take me to the airport. Put me on an airplane and take me to the ocean.
This is
Ocean.
This segment is never going to be 90 seconds long.
Hillbilly
Jeremy's singing.
heaven.
This is all going. There's still more seven. Where am I?
Take me home.
Nick, bucket list place to visit.
Curacao.
Ooh, very nice. Jeremy, football or football?
Football. Actually, believe it or not, I never
didn't
played
see that
football in
coming.
my life. I played soccer growing up.
There you go. Nice.
You know why? Because it was always too big. So I was a peewee. I would have had to play with like the senior A's. You know what I mean? So I would have been like a first grader, get my ass kicked by sixth graders. So I played soccer. I was a goalie and damn good at it, by the way.
There you go. All right, everybody's getting this one. So Andy, best advice you could give to your younger self?
To my younger self. Wake up, dude. Wake up.
I like it. Ryan?
Keep your mouth shut.
Ooh, that's a good one. Nick?
Persistence pays.
Jeremy?
Damn.
The size up is deep, bro. We're getting
Yeah,
deep on
no,
this.
I mean, these guys all had them like that. I don't, to be honest with you, I think it would be to invest more time into education, do better at school.
Ooh, I like that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sebi? You're young still.
Listen to your father more.
Oh,
Listen to your father more.
Best one.
Listen to
Best
your father
one.
more.
It's last Father's Day. I know you waited 28 years to hear this. I wish I'd listened to you more when I was younger.
We all do.
We
Yeah.
all do. That is
Yeah, join
really
the
good,
club,
Sebi.
man.
Yep, right there with you. Well, listen, gentlemen, this has been an amazing episode here.
It was all right.
Size Up by National Fire Radio.
When are we doing it again?
We definitely have to keep doing this again.
Yeah, it was good.
I can't thank you all enough for joining me on the show and for all of your support and most importantly, for your friendship.
Our pleasure.
So,
Got stickers.
Ryan, take us out.
I really feel like the father pushing the son out to pasture to tend his own sheep and his flock. I'm really proud of you, Pip. I have listened to every show so far, and you're rocking it, dog. Keep it up.
thank you very much. This has been the Size Up by National Fire Radio. Catch you next time.
Later. Boom. That's it.